Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today, as always. Today's topic is going to be manliness, or masculinity, or being a man, however way you want to look at it. What does that mean to you? When someone asks you, what does it mean to be a man? What does that mean to you? What is your idea of a man? When you think of a man, what comes into your mind? What picture, what image comes into your mind? For me, I think about Maximus and the Gladiator. I think about Braveheart. I think about some of the great leaders in history, Alexander the Great. And there are many others, too numerous to mention. Winston Churchill. He wasn't actually a warrior out on the battlefield, but yet he was a warrior. He was a man. He had to stifle, to push down his emotions to be able to lead the country out of what seemed like inevitable death and doom for all. But yet he did it. Now that doesn't mean that a man should not show his emotions. But it does mean a man has to control his emotions. And that is the difference between a woman and a woman and a man. Women are more apt to express, to feel, to emote than men are. Now we both have, men and women, have feminine and masculine traits. But when a man is too much into his feminine, he is more controlled by his emotions. Think about Winston Churchill when he was making speeches to the people of the country, when it seemed like there was no way they were going to defeat Hitler. All the bombings, the deaths, but yet he remained strong and calm. And what did he say? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And fear in itself is an emotion. We all have fear. We all feel fear. Do you think these people who you admire as heroes didn't feel fear? No, they felt the fear and they confronted it and they walked through it. Fear is an illusion, although it seems pretty real when you're thinking about doing something that scares the hell out of you. But as a man, we have more of ability to be logical than women. That doesn't mean women can't be logical, and it's not about putting women down or saying we're more than them and they're less than us. That has nothing to do with it. And as I always say, I will never be able to have a baby, and if you're a man, you will never be able to have a baby either. Although they are coming up with some pretty crazy scientific research and development. Let's hope that never happens. At least that's my opinion. What I'm saying is this: we each have our traits inherent within us as men and women. And we each have, as I said, feminine and masculine traits. Okay, but when the feminine becomes too dominant in a man, he's really out of his alignment with what he is supposed to be, at least in my opinion. And women are not attracted to feminine men. Now, there are some women that are very much in their masculine, and they may be more attractive, but I'm assuming here that you guys are here because you want to be a more masculine man. You want women to be attracted to you for your masculinity. But you have to walk in that masculinity just as Winston Churchill did, just as Maximus did in the movie The Gladiator, just as Braveheart did in the movie Braveheart, just as William Wallace was the character. Who is the actor? I know it, but I can't think of his name. You know who it is. Okay, but the character he played was a masculine man. He was the protector of his woman. Unfortunately, she got killed, but then he got vengeance. I don't suggest vengeance because vengeance destroys both the avenged and the vengeful. The man who is avenging. It kills you on the inside. But this man also believed in his country. He stood up for something and believed in something bigger than himself. We as men have to have a goal, a vision, a purpose that is bigger than ourselves. We have to have something that moves us, that emotes us from within, that emotion that we use as men, not so much to express it, but to use it to propel us to our visions, to our goals, to our greatness. We all have greatness within us, but we've belittled ourselves. What do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? Do you berate yourself? Do you beat yourself up? Do you call yourself stupid? Would you talk to your best friend like that? Of course you wouldn't. Then why do you talk to yourself like that? These are the things and the actions that you yourself make that keep you small. Why not talk great about yourself? Why not encourage yourself? Why not tell yourself that all great men have had continued and successive failures before they finally achieved what appears to the world as success? When in reality, every time you get back up after you fail, that is a success. I remember when I was boxing and in my amateur days before I turned professional, I was scared to death to get in the ring. And I had a friend there with me. Actually, he was an enemy at one time in my life. He used to bully me and pick on me, and we became friends later on. When my other friend punched him in the nose because he was picking on me. But that was back when I was afraid to fight. I was so afraid to fight. But before the fight, I told him, I said I was afraid. And he said, Mark, he said, you train hard, you push hard, nobody's going to walk all over you. And I thought, he's right. Now, does that mean I never lost? Of course I did. I had the crap beat out of me several times. I recall one time when I fought a guy in prison, and I've told this story before because it's a funny story. I had fought the prisoners several times. I wasn't in prison, but we would fight the prisoners. They would come to our club and fight, and we would go to the prison and fight. And at this time, they were having a riot, or they were having riots at the prison. So the tension was really high there, but they allowed us in to fight. And I had beaten them like twice, okay? So they matched me up with this guy, and he was a left-handed guy. I had never fought a left-handed guy before. But I'm thinking, okay, I know what I have to do. I got in there, and this guy just pounded the crap out of me. I couldn't get to him, and when he hit me, it was like I was getting hit with rocks. He knocked me down 2 or 3 times. Now, when I got knocked down, was I a failure? No, I got back up. When I went back to my corner, honestly, after the second or third time he knocked me down, I think I went back after the second round. I wanted them to stop the fight, but I didn't tell them to. And they kept telling me, you can take him. I'm like, shit. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not taking anybody. He's beating the crap out of me. So I go back out there, and I'm not sure if I got knocked down in the third round or not, but I know I got the hell beat out of me some more. And I lost the fight. Okay, losing that fight, was that a failure? It would have been a failure if I never fought again because of that fight. But I didn't win the fight, but I didn't lose myself. What I did do was I evaluated the situation, and I loved my coach. He was an older guy then. He lived to be 100 years old. And that's when I found out, years later, I talked to him about that fight. But back up a little bit. I switched coaches because I lost confidence in my coach because I thought he probably should have stopped the fight because I took a really bad beating. But giving him the benefit of the doubt, he was from the old days where they used to do all kinds of dirty crap. But they took a lot of beatings back then, and they didn't stop fights like they do now. He started back when I don't even think they just fought until one guy quit. He was an old guy, so he was 100. He started fighting in the 20s, I think. But so I lost confidence in him. As far as a coach, I thought his judgment was not right. So I started going to a different gym in St. Louis. I had started in a town called Hannibal. So I evaluated the situation. I wanted to continue fighting. I was afraid to get back in there, but I wanted to fight. I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to quit. Was I afraid? Of course I was. So I changed coaches. Years later, I was talking to him. He was 99. He said, if I live to March, I'll be 100. This was in like January. And I asked him, I said, do you remember that time I fought up in the prison? That guy just beat the hell out of me? He said, yes. I walked over to his corner and checked his gloves because he knew something was up, I suppose. He said he had 2 horseshoes in his gloves. So in the prison, you can get by with that because they're not sanctioned fights, nothing's checked. And that made sense to me because I had never been punched like that. I had cuts on my forehead, and I was punch drunk for about 2 days. It's like kind of like a hangover, and I had bumps all over my head. My thought after the fight was that the guy had taken the stuffing out of his gloves, but to come to find out 30 years later, he had things in his gloves. But the point I'm making is here, I didn't quit, I didn't give up. Some people may look at that as stupid. To me, I look at that as being a man. You have a desire, you have a vision, something you want to do, something you want to be. And even if you get knocked down over and over and get the hell beat out of you, maybe not physically, but by life, because life has a way that it can just beat the crap out of you. You get back up, you don't give up, and you press on. Am I unique? No, maybe in the fact that I've failed so many times, but the road to success is paved with failure. You are not going to become the success that you are destined to be, that you are inherently programmed to be in whatever endeavor you choose without failure. You learn from failure. What did I learn from that fight? I needed to step up. And I did. I went to a different coach. This coach had more connections. I ended up turning pro. I retired as an undefeated professional fighter. I loved fighting. I still spar with my kids today. But I learned from all those things and many other failures in my life. You have to be willing to take a risk. In the U.S. today, we are so comfortable and so safe that we're afraid to risk anything. We have this current situation now. Everybody's afraid. Well, a lot of people are afraid and a lot of people aren't. Do I have fear about it? Yes, a little bit. But as time passes and more truth comes out, or let's say the other side, because what is one person's truth is not another person's truth. But as more things come out, I see that even my initial fears were unfounded. Did I allow that fear to control my life? No, I didn't. Did many people? Yes, they did. Does that mean they're less or they're stupid? No, it doesn't. We all have fears of some kind. Some of my fears, I may tell to some people that were controlled by this situation, the health situation, you know what I'm talking about. And they would think, why are you afraid of that? Everyone has different fears, so we don't want to judge other people just because they're afraid of something we're not. More than likely, you or I are afraid of something that they would think was ridiculous. So we each have our inherent programmed fears. We're only born with 2 fears, the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else is learned. So all these other fears, the fear of rejection, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of failing, all these are learned. When you were a child, were you afraid to try to walk because someone may laugh at you? No, you weren't. You just kept trying until you were able to walk. But how many times in your life today as a grown adult have you been afraid to do something because you were afraid of how people would think of you, or of how you would look, or that you might not achieve it? Many times, I'm sure. I know in my life I've allowed fear to stop me. If I back up to boxing, I was really good. I was as good as I sparred with guys who were world champions, and I was as good as they were in the ring. Why were they world champions and I wasn't? Because they were better here. They knew how to handle the fear. And I didn't even recognize that my fear kept me from achieving what they achieved. I had the same dream. My fear kept me in the gym, working harder than anybody else. It kept me in the gym every day. It kept me in the gym, sparring more rounds, taking more beatings. And guess where my fight was? It was in the gym. I was hurt and injured most of the time. My coach would even tell me, Mark, you don't need to come here every day. No, I do. I was so afraid of, as I said before when I talked to my friend, of someone beating me up or humiliating me, that I worked out too hard. Not everyone has to be pushed. Some people, and maybe you're like me, need to be told, slow down. You're working too hard. You need to allow your body to rest. Rest is as important as stress. But no, I didn't realize that. I was half the time I was sick with a low-grade cold. I had to run every day. I was working hard every day, and I was going to the gym every day. I think I took off Saturday and Sunday, but I think I ran Saturday and Sunday, even though I didn't go to the gym because it was not open. So many times our desire, coupled with our fear of failure and of looking stupid or of looking like a failure, pushes us to the point where we actually fail. So it's a fear-driven thing, and it's hard to see those things. I did not realize at the time that that's what was stopping me. I thought it was bad luck or just one of those things. Or maybe it wasn't meant to be. It was fear stopping me in a disguised way from achieving the goals and desires that I had that really meant a lot to me. I was willing to give everything. Anytime you step in the ring, you take a chance of dying. I could have suffered serious brain damage from the beating I took with the guy with the horseshoes in his gloves. In the gym, I worked out with a lot of guys that were heavyweights. I remember one night I worked out with this heavyweight, and that sucker hit me and dropped me. And all the way home, I got this, like, I can't see out of my right eye. It's like blinding. It's kind of like a light or something. And I'm wondering, am I ever going to be normal? Many nights I went to bed after taking beatings in the gym from guys who were ranked #1 in the nation, guys who were professional fighters ranked in the top 10. This is when I first started after I left Hannibal. And going to bed at night wondering if I was going to wake up in the morning. So I was willing to give my life for this dream, this goal. And as a man, you too must be willing to give your life for what you desire. And that may not be unto death, but it will be unto death of the things inside of you that stop you from achieving your goal, which may be fear, pride, whatever it happens to be. You know what it is. You know what's stopping you. Sometimes we need to talk to someone about it, to have those answers that we're looking for reflected back to us. And this again comes back to being a man. A man is accountable. There should be someone in your life that you trust, that knows everything about you, every deep, dark, secret, cranny, imagination, things that you don't want anybody to know, that you've fantasized about, that you've thought about, that you've done in real life. Someone needs to know everything. Someone you trust. A man is accountable, first to himself, then to someone else, and to the God of his understanding. You have to make the choice of what you desire to be. And then when you make that choice, you take action in the direction of that desire, dream, or vision. You don't have to know the way or the how, because you're not going to know that. You just have to step out in the direction. You know the first step. But many times, and I've done this too, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I can give you an example right now. I'm on my 3rd book, and I've hesitated on it because I haven't found an editor yet. Well, the book's not finished. Does it need to be edited yet? No, it doesn't. So I could be writing on it. What's stopping me? Somewhere in there's a fear. Now, I need to discover what that is. I can think of a few things. I know what it is, but I'm not clear. But I need to talk to someone about it. My mentor, I need to discuss this. What's holding me back here? The book I'm writing is about men and women, my experience with women, and my experience with helping other men with women, and how men and women relate in romantic, intimate relationships, and how being a man in life is what you need to be to achieve that fulfillment that we're all looking for. So many times we think that when I get this house, when I get this job, when I make this certain amount of money, when I get this or that, then I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to be happy, I'm going to feel great. And certainly we must have goals. We must have written goals. Because without goals, we just wander around like a ship on the ocean without a rudder, being blown about by every wind, a ship without a destination. You have to have a destination. This gives you a direction to head off into. You need to have goals. Without goals, you have no fulfillment because you're not on a journey to anywhere. And for a man, the fulfillment that you desire and the contentment comes from moving in the direction of your goals. I like Earl Nightingale's definition of success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. The progressive realization. Success is the progressive realization. He doesn't say success is reaching your goal. Success is accomplishing your mission. Success is achieving the vision. He says success is the progressive realization. The joy is in the journey. It took me many years to figure that out. Many years. I was always going to get there, and I'd get to the goal. I remember when I won my first pro fight. Big deal. God, I won my first pro fight. And it was elate. I was great. After the fight, people pat me on my back. I got voted the best fight of the night. They gave me extra money. It was great for about 3 hours. And I'm in a bar, and I'm having a couple beers. I didn't get drunk, and I'm thinking, is this all there is? Is this it? Is this all there is? From that very night, my world just started crumbling because I was empty. I never thought about the journey. Years later, many years, 30 years later, I was training for a race. And I went out one Saturday night to run. And as I went out, my sons were out talking to some of their friends. They were about 16 years old. And 2 of their friends started running with me. And I was going to do about a 3-miler. And I thought, these guys are going to get me. They're young and strong, and they were in sports in school. And we ran and we talked. We had a great time, man. It was one of the most wonderful times. It was as great or better than any time I ever won a race or won a fight or won any kind of athletic competition. I did triathlons. It's a memory that is just, it fulfills me thinking about it. And that night was the night that I really realized, I had always heard it, that the joy is in the journey, the process. That was a fulfilling moment. We all ran. One of the guys dropped off, which surprised me. And the other guy, we sprinted at the end and I beat him. You know, I won. But it wasn't that. That didn't make any difference. Whether I finished ahead of him or not, it was just the fact that we had a good time running, talking, and we were sprinting and joking around, and we had a finish there at the end. We sprinted it out. And we walked back up to the house after we finished. And it was just a great memory. It was a great time. And as I said, that's when I truly learned and understood inherently that the joy is in the journey. Now is all you have. Now, this is it. This is it. Tomorrow at this time, it'll be now. Yesterday at this time, it was now. It's always going to be now. Not when you get there, not when the kids get out of school, not when the kids graduate from college, not when you get finished with this divorce, not when you meet that right woman, ad infinitum. Now is the time to live, to enjoy, to feel that fulfillment that you think you're going to get when you achieve this goal, this certain amount of money, when you get this car, when you buy that big house. That's all bullshit. That's all a lie. Sure, it's good to want for those things, and as I said, to have a goal to achieve these things, but it's in the process. It's in the progressive realization of achievement that you as a man are fulfilled, that you will only be fulfilled in that progressive realization, and that is always now. It's never tomorrow. It's not yesterday. It's now. So think about these things. Ponder on these things. And as I've said many times before, if you watch my videos, like and subscribe. Had to throw a break in there. Many times before, that you must be before you can do. You must be before you can do. You must be the man that fits into the reality that you want to experience. You must be the man before you can have what the man has. Be the man that has what you want. And then those things will be drawn to you. According to your faith, it is done unto you. It is done to you. It doesn't say according to your faith, you got to go out and make it happen. You got to do it. It's done to you. It's brought into your life. You step into the reality that you have experienced within yourself as a man. That's all I got time for today. I hope this has been of value to you. If you'd like to get my help personally, marksinspiration.com is my website. Thanks for joining me. Remember, like and subscribe. Now, have a great day.